Hello, Lana McCare here, and this is Carb Addict, now Carnivore. Today I'm flying solo, and I'm going to talk about how to get through the transition from eating the sad American diet to what we're doing carnivore. Carnivore slash keto. If you're keto, that's fine. It's just eliminating all those carbohydrates, and we go through some urges and some habits that want to hold us back in the past, in our former way of eating. And how do we break that? How do we break the habits, break the cravings, break this rhythm that we're in our mind, that when I feel a certain way, I'm going to take this certain action, and we don't want to do that anymore. So here's what I did. I found substitutes. Now this would be individual for you, because when I was in the first stages of carnivore, the first 30 days, I guess. And now I've been almost 13 months, coming up 13 months. The first month or so, actually the first 3 months, I guess, I was looking for substitutions because I know myself, I'm so addicted to carbohydrates that I knew I couldn't just eliminate. If I had a craving for something that I was used to soothing myself with, I had to get a substitute that worked for me, or I would end up back there, because I could not tolerate the wrenching in my gut. I couldn't tolerate that wrenching feeling that I would get if I did not satisfy my cravings. So that is how I did it. So when I was reaching for something sweet, like my coffee, and I don't drink coffee anymore, but at the time I was very much into coffee. Every single day, sweet, creamy coffee is what I wanted. So what did I do? Well, instead of the sweeteners and sugars and so forth, and that liquid flavored creamer that is mostly syrup, people, mostly syrup, just colored white. There's no milk in it at all. It's non-dairy. It's full of chemicals. Look at the ingredient list. It's about that long. I was highly addicted to that creamer. So what I did was I got whole cream, which is thick as well, thick and creamy. And then I used electrolytes. I put in plain electrolytes in my coffee, so it was salty. And if at first, if it wasn't salty enough, I added some salt. What I found out later is that salt actually cuts the bitterness in the coffee, which is one of the reasons we put sugar in our coffee, cut the bitterness, and also cream. So salt did help that. And so I was drinking salty, creamy coffee instead of sweet, creamy coffee. And I could make it with that. I could tolerate that. Now, it wasn't my favorite at first. I got used to it and I started enjoying it. And then when about 3 months went by, I realized, I don't really care about this coffee anymore. Well, I wasn't getting the sugar fix that I used to get back in the day, right? So my taste had changed. And so when I realized I didn't really want the coffee, I still wanted a hot drink in the morning. That was my routine. So I got a coffee substitute. I got Dandy Blend. And I put that in my cup with my whole cream and my electrolytes. So now I had Dandy Blend. And I drank that for a while. And so those substitutes were kind of stepping me down from the sugar, from the caffeine, using these little substitutions to keep myself happy. I think going on willpower is a big mistake. If you are having to just hold on and not give in, then you're not going to make it. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Stop holding on. Find another way. Find something that substitutes for it. I was really addicted to ice cream. And especially in the summer, I would get this heat, and I am very hot-blooded, by the way. I sweat a lot. I need the air conditioner turned down. I just have a lot of heat in my body. And I would use ice cream to cool me off. And sometimes I would buy the freezer pops and the cellophane, the plastic tube to cool me down. Now, everything had sugar in it. And really, Sugar was the deal. I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was the cold stuff, that I wanted cold, which I did want cold, but ice water wouldn't do it. Sucking on an ice cube wouldn't do it for me. So what I did was I would take whole cream and I'd whip it up with a mixer till I had whipped cream. And I would add vanilla and salt. And I would make like a spin-off of ice cream with that. And I would put it in a dish and put it in the freezer. So when I wanted something cold like that, I was eating the whipped cream, the salty whipped cream with vanilla in it. And that did it for me. And after a while, I stopped craving it because I was stepping down from the sugar fix. But I was still getting the fat. I was still getting cold. And so that was enough to get me through while I stepped down from that sugar fix that I was getting, because I was very addicted to ice cream all my life. All my life. My father and I would sit at night and eat ice cream together. That's what I did as a little girl. It was the only time my father really paid attention to me, is when we were eating ice cream. So, the ice cream meant something to me in my early days. So that was one of the things I did to substitute. I just whipped it up with a mixer, the whole cream, added salt and vanilla, plopped it in the freezer for an hour or two. But then I would have a bowl of it, make little mounds of it to freeze, and then I could pull them out and have my fake ice cream, my carnivore ice cream, for a few days between times. Snacks. I would always snack at night. I couldn't stop snacking. I would get that urgency in my belly, and I couldn't not do it. I wouldn't sleep. I would lay there. I tried it because I was on dieting all the time. And I realized I'm never going to sleep tonight if I don't get up and put something in my stomach. It's just the way it is. Well, I found pork rinds. Now I'm on a like a rotating basis with pork rinds, because sometimes I'll eat them all the time and other times I won't want them for weeks. So pork rinds really have helped me get through, and I get the plain ones and I try to find the ones that are light. They don't have a lot of the really hard ones that are hard to chew. So I found a brand at Walmart that I like. It's called MAC, M-A-C. They have it at Sam's Club, but I didn't really care for the Sam's Club one. It had too many hard pieces in it. And so that is, how I handle pork rinds. But with the pork rinds, I'll pour out some pork rinds into a little dish and I'll season them with more salt. Salt is what I did to get away from sugar. Now, if you listen to Dr. Joan Iflin's session on my channel, she says that there is a brain chemistry that happens with salt. That is a positive brain chemistry that happens with salt. Now, I use salt because it didn't make my blood sugar fluctuate. And I also eat more salt because if you're carnivore, you need salt. You don't have the carbohydrates to hold water into your body, so you need more salt. So salt is a good thing to eat with a carnivore journey. So I would add more salt. Now, sometimes I would add seasonings to my pork rinds. I would add taco seasoning. Now, these things I make myself because I don't want any additives or sugar in it. So taco seasoning, also ranch seasoning that I make myself. And I'm going to make a note here to put that in the description box, the ranch recipe and the taco recipe. So you can mix that up in your own kitchen, put it in a little shaker, shake it over the pork rinds. Sometimes I would heat them up in the oven so they kind of, the fat releases a little bit, and then you can shake on them and it sticks better. That's a couple things that I do. I also use pork rinds instead of croutons, and I love it. I'll take pork rinds and one chip at a time. I don't put them all in at once. I just drop in one chip of pork rind into my soup. My soup is actually bone broth with a little meat in it. And then I'll get my spoon and eat that, and it has a crunch. I love the crunch. So pork rinds really are great for croutons. If you put them in and then immediately eat it, it's great. So that helped me with that. Also with the crunchy stuff, I just substitute pork rinds. If I want a snack, I'll take a little sour cream and I'll dip in a pork rind and I'll eat that. Pork rinds and sour cream are both carnivore. Now I do it with sour cream. Sour cream has 0 carbs in it. So I'm still on plan with that. Now, if you're going BBB&E, that will not qualify, but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend BBB&E if you're just barely starting. It's too strict. It's too hard. Take it easy on yourself for a month or 2 or 3 before you go BB&E. BBB&E. I haven't even done it. I have never done BBB&E, and I feel great. I lost 40 plus pounds, and I feel like I've got my life back. My knees are great. I have great, my eyes are better. My hair, I've lost my gray hair. I mean, I'm good. I feel great. I have lots of energy. Never did BBB&E. One of the things about cravings is you have to cut yourself a break. You're not going to get perfect BBB&E or Lion Diet right out of the gate. You have to deal with your addiction first. Once the addiction calms down, I'm not going to say it ever goes away, but once it calms down, you can go another step further and do what works for you, not what, this goal that's way out there in the stratosphere that other people are doing that maybe you just can't do. And that's okay. You're not them and they're not you. So giving yourself a break, I think, is a big part of this, and not seeing these substitutions as anything less than transitioning from your old way of being to the new way of being. I haven't made my fake carnivore ice cream probably 8 months. I haven't made it. But if it gets really hot here in Florida and I want something cold, hey, guess what? I'm going to make it. I'll put it in the freezer and I'm going to enjoy every bite of it. So don't feel like you have to be some kind of perfect image. That fake ice cream is carnivore. It's within the guidelines, all animal based, no carbohydrates, no sugar in it. It's great. It tastes good. And so the snacks, yes, the snacks are what I use the croutons for. I tried meat sticks. Just not a fan of meat sticks, even the healthy ones. I'm not a fan of meat sticks and beef jerky. That doesn't really do anything for me, but the pork rinds do. Some people use little pieces of bacon, which can be good. I found one thing that I did, which is awesome. I really recommend this. I got some fat from my grocery store meat department. I called them up and I said, "Are you cutting meat today? I would love to have some fat trimmings." They said, "What do you want, beef or pork?" I said, "Both." So I went down there about 2 hours later, and they had a big tray, 2 big trays, one of beef trimmings, one of pork trimmings. They were all fat. So I brought those home. I cut them. I just chopped right through the meat in the tray with a big knife and chopped it this way, chopped it that way, right down through all of it. And then I put, I think I did the pork first. I put that into the big pot, big like a Dutch oven. And I put it in the oven for about 4 hours. It was a long time. I put it in the oven around 300 or 350 for about 4 or 5 hours. And I just kept stirring it so it didn't stick to the bottom or anything. And you could see the fat rising. So then when it was all done, and you can't really tell when you've got all the fat out. You just have to keep cooking it down. And so I put a fine strainer over a bowl, a big mixing bowl. I put a fine strainer and I dipped the fat out and poured it through that fine strainer. It was really fine. It was not letting any of the meat bits through. And I strained all that out. Well, then I took the same, it was left in the pot and put it back on and cooked it some more. And I got some more fat out of it. So I added that to the bowl until eventually I was able to pour all of the bits that were in the pot out into the bowl and stir them about like this and then get all the fat out. But I had this left in the strainer. There was still meat left. It was pork. And so what I did with that is I spread that out on a baking sheet with, and I always put foil on my baking sheets because I don't like to clean up the meat stuck to the pan. So I put foil on there and I poured all of that pork out, spread it, and then I put the heat up to 400 or so, stuck that back in the oven, and I cooked those. Now you can put that in an air fryer or anything else. I don't have an air fryer. So I let that cook for a while. And then, wow, was it good? Oh my gosh, that was good. So when it was cooling, I'm picking out bits of this meat, this fatty meat, and eating it. And it was awesome. So what I did was I divided that into little sections, about the size of my hand. And I put those into sandwich bags when it was cool. And I zipped that up and put it in the freezer. Of course, I wrote the word pork on it and I put it in the freezer. Now, when I want something that, is like a snack, I could take those out and put them in a little skillet and cook them and warm them up, crunch them up again, and eat those bits. They're so good. And well, does that ever satisfy? Also, cooking some eggs up with that will help. And I did the same thing with the beef. So now I have these fatty beef bits and the fatty pork bits in the freezer. And those are amazing. Snacks. And you and I know, if you've been a carnivore for a while, you can't eat too much fat. If you do, you will get a stomach ache about an hour later. Your liver is not able to digest the fat if you eat too much of it at one time. So that cured me of eating too much fat. But if I just have a little bit, a little taste, and then come back in a half an hour to an hour, another little taste, that'll do me for the evening. I used to be great. I used to be grazing in my pantry for hours every night. No wonder I've lost so much weight when I stopped doing that. So fatty snacks like that will help you get through. That's a substitute, and it's totally fine to do that. So I hope that helps you today. Please post your comments below and let us know what you do for substitutions, because everybody's got such great ideas. Thank you so much. See you next time.